During the 2016 referendum, there were a number of influential advocates of Brexit who hoped that Brexit would provide them with the opportunity to reconstruct British society and economy along much more American lines, with much more less role for the welfare state, much less role in general for the redistributive and benevolent actions of the state. That wouldn't have been a particularly favourable or welcome prospect for many people who might vote leave, and so that they kept rather quiet about that aspiration. They did, however, talk about the aspiration of a free trade agreement with the United States that was supposedly going to be much better than any European relationships. Well, that didn't happen under the first Trump administration, but hope springs eternal in the Brexit breast. And when Donald Trump was re-elected in 2024, there were quiet and not so quiet hopes expressed that perhaps through the mediation of Lord Mandelson, it will be possible finally to come to a worthwhile and advantageous trade arrangement with the United States. The first 5 or 6 weeks of Donald Trump in office have proved the old Arab saying, "Man plans and God laughs." God must be laughing at the way in which Donald Trump, by his actions and rhetoric over the past 6 weeks, have made an entire mockery of anything that could be considered a favorable trade relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States. The trade agreements that he himself signed with Canada and Mexico have been overturned and derided. He's talking about Canada as becoming a 51st state, of Greenland becoming part of the United States of America. This is not a reliable basis on which to build a trading relationship or indeed any other relationship. This confronts the United Kingdom with a particular dilemma. The United Kingdom, in its political elites, have spent the past 50, 60 years telling themselves that they were a bridge between the United States and Europe, and sometimes that they had a special relationship with the United States. Well, it's obvious that nobody has a special relationship with Donald Trump. The idea of being a bridge between the European Union and the United States is one which is very difficult to reconcile with Starmer's hope for a reset of relations between the UK and the US. After all, it's been made very clear by Donald Trump that he despises and detests the European Union, and you're not going to be a friend or a bridge builder to Donald Trump unless you echo this. Mind you, it's not just in trade that the European relationship now becomes more important for the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom hoped in this reset, which Starmer advocated, that defence would be at the very heart of this reconciliation, partial reconciliation between the United Kingdom and the European Union. Well, defence has come to be turbocharged as an element of the European Union, but not merely of the European Union in its external aspects, in its possible dealings with the United Kingdom, but in its internal aspects as well. The European Union will be engaging on an enormous rearmament program over the next few years, largely led by France and Germany, but Poland and others are making their contribution as well. And I find it very difficult to believe that the United Kingdom will be able to play a significant role in this rearmament, either at the industrial or the political level, unless it is a part of European structures. I find in continental colleagues a certain impatience with the United Kingdom of continuing to pretend that it can deny its European identity and European destiny. There are economic and political factors pointing very clearly in the direction of the United Kingdom resuming its European identity. There's no question but that in 2016, identity politics played a role. And those identity politics are now very much swinging in the direction of Europe. I've been campaigning recently in a by-election, a local by-election, and I was very struck by the way that even from day to day, it was clear that there were differing views, evolving views coming from the electorate as a result of the Zelensky fracas in the White House, as a result of the things that Musk and Vance have been saying about Europe and particularly about the United Kingdom. There is a sea change going on. And that's having its effects on British politics as well, particularly for the right of British politics. You'd have to have a heart of stone not to be amused by the scurrying around of both Reform and the Conservative Party in their reaction to Trump's behaviour. In particular, it's been amusing how reluctant both those elements of the right wing of the United Kingdom to condemn the predatory eyes which Trump is directing towards a Commonwealth country, namely Canada. There ought to have been, as the King well pointed out or well suggested, a much greater solidarity with Canada. On the left, Starmer, as the party of government, does feel that he has to take a cautious position as far as the United States is concerned. I simply can't believe that that option will last. I think very rapidly he'll be forced, both by circumstances and by political and electoral pressure in this country, to recognize that the United States is no longer a factor for stability in Europe or in the world. For 80 years, that was the case, that the United States was a factor for security, stability. That's no longer anything that the United Kingdom will be able to rely on. Most people, when they think about the European Union, have a rather hazy idea of what its institutional structures are. That's as far as this country is concerned. But they are important, and they will be significantly involved in the rearmament of Europe over the coming years, and the development of a more coherent and stable security policy for the European Union, for the European continent. The idea that the United Kingdom can stand aside from these institutions, I think, is for the birds, and reflects the certain contempt which the British political elite hold for the institutions that weren't invented in Westminster in the 17th century. Rejoin EU believes that the future for our cause is brighter as a result of Donald Trump and his antics. That's a paradoxical thing, perhaps, but it may be one of the few positive outcomes of his presidency, that it does bring the United Kingdom closer towards the European Union, and in the not too distant future, back into its institutional structures. We will continue to stand in any election where we think our message can usefully be deployed. There are by-elections coming up, and by-elections are traditionally an opportunity for the electorate to deliver a message to the government. And we think that message will and should be that the United Kingdom should rejoin the European Union. And we think that Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Vance are people who are making the case for us. They don't wish to, but paradoxically, they are our best friends. And long may that continue.
Vote Rejoin EU. Join the EU vision.